easiest thing anybody could say.
Yeah, and the first thing everybody wants to point to is he's tipping pitches, and he's not tipping pitches. His stuff just wasn't great. So it's not the end of the world. Of course, you expect a whole lot more. Anytime, where much is given, much is required. Everybody expects when you pay that much money to get a guy that he's going to be lights out, but that's just not the way the game works. Like, the Padres are a good team. They want to beat the Dodgers. They're probably going to beat the Dodgers some. I still think the Dodgers are a better team, but that's why you play 162 to see who can be the best team standing at the end of the year. But he'll bounce back. He'll be fine. It's one inning. And the problem with it is this is magnified. So I'll give you an example, Adam. When you start off the season, I had a rough year with the Bulls where I went 1 for 25. I mean, it's painful. And then, I hit 350 the rest of the way, but you have to carry that 1 for 25 for the first month or two.
Right.
And it has a huge bearing on things. But I mean, you're one good game away from getting right back in. So he can wash this away with a good outing his next time, and nobody will be talking about it.
What do you think the biggest? He's 25, so he's been a pro in Japan for a while. What are, for people who may not know, what is the biggest difference between pitching in the Japanese leagues and pitching in the big leagues?
So the number one thing that you find, you watch these guys, they control the strike zone so well, Adam. So if you are nibbling, meaning pitchers that don't like to throw in the zone and challenge guys with their best stuff, if they're afraid to pitch into the strike zone, they're not going to find a lot of success, because eventually you have to cave or you're going to walk everyone.
Right.
So what I've found is guys that trust their stuff, that have power stuff, that just attack, they get guys out. But if you're a nibbler, you will not find success, because, umpires, most of them are pretty good at the big league level. So you have to throw strikes in order to get guys out, because, the difference between, call it Japan, Korea, AAA, is that guys in the big leagues will not offer at that stuff that's a couple inches out of the zone. They will make you come into the strike zone, and they'll punish you.
Who's the best umpire in the major home plate umpire in the big leagues?
So there's a guy named David Rackley that's pretty good.
Okay.
When I was still playing, I remember he called a game 100% correct, which is really rare. There's a guy named DJ Rayburn that's very good. Obviously we know how bad Angel Hernandez is. We'll just throw that to your fan base. Everyone knows how awful he is, and everyone knows. And it's not just behind the plate, Adam. Like even on the base,
he's bad everywhere.
He's a nightmare. What are you doing? He thinks everyone's there to watch him. Like, he's got fans on the pass list. The guy's unbelievable. But, there are guys that are very, very good. And, we know who they are. I mean, we would get reports on where guys, would have a bigger strike zone. It's not like pitchers can exploit it per se, but it's certainly something that when they do call that pitch, you remember your preparation afterwards that, hey, this guy does call pitches big there. But, anyway, that by and large, they do a pretty good job. And they call the game relative to how the strike zone is supposed to be called for the most part. And, of course, there's outliers on both sides.
Yeah, and we're not that far away from it being completely automated anyway. But that's I'm against that. I love the nuance of the strike zone, but I'm an old school guy when it comes to that. Let me ask you about Shohei Ohtani. So he can't pitch this year. I assume he's going to DH as, 155 to, maybe his max out at 162 because he's just hitting. Should we prepare for an even better offensive season than we have seen from him?
No. So I wouldn't. I think that, I think that we're probably over exaggerating, what type of energy that it takes out of him. I don't see there being a whole lot different. If you don't have, and think about him, I mean, he's a machine, Adam. So if he isn't mentally, physically prepared to pitch and hit, why are they doing it with him in the first place?
Right.
So he's already physically in that condition to be prepared to do both sides. To say that somehow now that he, it gets to just focus on hitting and that's going to have some sort of huge impact, I don't see it. I think he's going to stay relatively close to his trend lines. And he's still going to be one of the greatest players in the game, but I wouldn't assume that we're going to see any huge uptick just because he's only hitting.
So he goes from the best player in the game to just one of the best players in the game because he's not pitching. Is that a fair assessment?
Well, Yeah, I think if you're trying to just use WAR or whatever the case may be to determine his output, when you combine his pitching and his hitting, yeah, I mean he becomes the most valuable player on the planet. But if he's just hitting, again, we've had this conversation plenty of times. I think he's not even the best hitter on the Dodgers. I think Mookie and Freddie
right.
are better hitters than he is. Juan Soto is going to probably have a huge year in New York. And maybe I was wrong about him last year, but he's still a very good baseball player and, if not the best hitter in the world, one of the best. So, that's why I say, look, when you combine pitching and hitting, sure, he creates more value than any player on the planet because he's elite on both sides.
Mm-hmm.
But just hitting, and that's not a disrespect to him. Freddie Freeman's one of the best hitters of our generation. Mookie Betts is one of the best hitters of our generation. So it's not like I'm being disrespectful. The Dodgers have an all-star team over there,
Right in the middle of their lineup, it is just insane. Who steals more bases this year, Ohtani or Betts?
Oh, man. Betts.
I stumped him. I stumped Elliot Johnson. Is he there?
I thought you were asking me who's going to steal more this season. Are you saying so far this year? You're saying that?
No, this season. Who is going to steal more bases this season? Mookie Betts or Shohei Ohtani?
Yeah, I'm going Betts.
All right. I think Ohtani is going to be a 40-40 guy.
Well, I mean, the problem is when you only hit doubles and home runs, it's hard to steal bases.
That is a very good point, Elliot Johnson. All right, so anything about the interpreter getting $4.5 million into Ohtani's pocket to place bets with an illegal bookmaker? Anything strike you as, excuse me?
Well, of course. This whole thing is, I don't know, Adam. I mean, so here, let's start with this. The stories haven't been the same throughout this process.
Okay.
And not like I'm a private investigator or I am in law enforcement, but I'm pretty sure your story needs to be consistent. And it hasn't been consistent from the beginning because now we got lawyers involved and they're trying to craft a message after the message has already been out. You got the Dodgers who are obviously going to do everything they can to protect their guy.
Yes.
We've got a interpreter that seems like is falling on a sword. We've got the black eye on baseball that is the Black Sox scandal and Pete Rose. We have the greatest player in the world, making the most money, all this stuff. He's an international superstar. He's a marketable player on one of the best teams in the world who's caught in this thing. And it feels like, we're not getting the whole truth is what I'll say. Okay? I don't know what it is, but it sure as heck doesn't feel like this makes any sense whatsoever. I don't know how an interpreter gets $4.5 million into debt. I mean, I guess I could see it if you're a gambling person, which I'm not, but I mean, something, it just doesn't feel right. And I don't know exactly what's going to come of this, but I think the Dodgers are going to do everything they can to make sure that they protect him as much as they can. And I don't know what's going to end up being the fallout, but but again, it's not like Major League Baseball gets to get away with this scot-free because everywhere you look, it's Sunday Night Baseball brought to you by FanDuel or whatever the case may be. So I think they're trying to have their cake and eat it too, and I understand that. And players know the rules, no question about it, but it's still, something about this doesn't feel right, and I think I have a feeling that more and more information is going to be coming out here in the next few days.
Oh, it's a very weird story, and FanDuel is America's #1 sports book, I've been told, and I'm not a gambling guy either. Although Manny Machado, anytime home run, kind of spoke to me yesterday, and it worked out. And isn't that nice? All right, I'll let Elliot Johnson go. You don't have to be a part of this madness anymore. Elliot Johnson, my friend, I appreciate your time as always. Happy almost opening day for real.
Yeah. Thank you very much, Adam. Pleasure as always.
Yeah, we'll talk more with Elliot when the real baseball season, not the real bit, but when everybody else starts, and we'll talk a little bit about the Braves and how the Braves look like they're significantly better than they were a year ago.
That's dangerous.
And they didn't win it last year, but
they were hot.
They're good.
Yeah.
Legitimately good. So our fearless leader here, like big office back there, came up to me yesterday. I think it was yesterday, and he said, "So you excited for the baseball season?" And I'm like, "No."
No.
Like I'm not excited for it.
You're a Mets fan.
Well,
is that why?
It's part of it.
Okay.
Because I don't think there's great optimism for the Mets this season. That doesn't mean they can't make the playoffs, by the way. Baseball is as screwed up as any other sport. And if you get off to a good start and certain things break in your favor and guys play better than you expected, all of a sudden, like, wait a second, confidence matters.
Mm-hmm.
So, but we're certainly not going into this season knowing that the Mets are going to compete.
Right.
Like, we're going into the season knowing that the Braves are going to be good.
Yes.
Right? Real quick, just want to remind you, we're going to talk to Nathan Geese, who covers Texas Tech, here in about 2 minutes. So he's going to join us. State will play Texas Tech tonight in Pittsburgh, about a 9:40 start, at least scheduled start time. But more than anything else, what prevents me from getting really excited about the start of the baseball season is that there's a lot going on now. So I'm not. It's not like I was a kid where I knew every player in every sport. I knew their uniform numbers. I knew their positions. I knew how often they played. There wasn't anything you could get by me as a kid about the four major sports. I followed them, daily, hourly, all of it. And now there's too much going on.
Yeah.
There's just way too much. So not only do we have to follow, and I wasn't following college sports as a kid. So not only are we following pro and college sports, the Hurricanes are in the midst of what looks like should be a pretty good long playoff run.
Promising.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yes. We've got three basketball teams who could do damage in the NCAA tournament. I threw Duke into the mix because I think they could.
Yeah.
Right? And we're going to talk about that when I give you my brackets in a little bit. Maybe we'll do that before we place bets. There's just so much going on. And we have the imminent demise of the Atlantic Coast Conference to deal with.
Unfortunately.
And that takes a lot of time. So I'm just not... When basketball's over and it's just hockey and other whatever comes down, yeah. I'll get into it.
Right.
I might watch a game.
There's a lot of games.
Yeah.
That's the other thing.
I might watch a game. So anyway, before we get to NC State, Duquesne had a 9-0 lead on BYU. Cougars came all the way back and took a 19-18 lead. And then Duquesne stretched it back out. BYU is now within 5. So,
wow.
The basketball tournament is crazy.
Nuts.
Nathan Geese from the Lubbock Avalanche Journal joins us on the Adam Gold Show to talk about the Texas Tech Red Raiders, who, we don't have a ton of familiarity, although, obviously, in the not-too-recent past, a Final Four berth. So it's not the same team. It's not the same coach. So let's get right to it, sir, and I appreciate your time. If you could thumbnail what Texas Tech is going to bring to NC State, what is it?
Well, you kind of mentioned in not too recent past, it made the national championship game, and it's not the same thing. It's not the same program.
No.
It has changed over so much since then. But what's happened this year, obviously last year, there was just kind of this dark cloud hanging over the program of which way could this go.
Right.
When Mark Adams resigned or was said, hey, please go away. There was a time where it was like, well, where is this going to go? And what they've done, bringing in Grant McCasland as the new head coach, he's a former Tech director of ops under James Dickey, had familiarity with the program, and it was kind of this, okay, we know who this guy is, we know what he's about, now can he instill it here? And what he was at North Texas was a very defensive-minded coach.
Mm.
They brought in Dave Smart from the Canadian college ranks. He was all about defense. So that's kind of what everybody expected. But what this has turned into is a really good offense, and the defense has just now started to click. So it's kind of the inverse of what you expected to. They're a very good offensive team, especially when they're in sync, shooters all over the floor.
Yeah.
It's kind of a dynamic sort of way of operating on offense that Tech just hasn't had in a long time here.
I mean, that to me is the thing that jumps out, is that how many guys can shoot the ball. They don't all shoot a high percentage. Roy Williams, the old North Carolina coach, used to say, we have a lot of shooters, we don't have a lot of makers. But, I mean, Texas Tech has a bunch of guys who will pull the trigger. Was it 5 players who have attempted at least 90 three-pointers?
Yep, that's about right. At all times, they're going to have 4 guys that can shoot the 3 on the court. They could go to 5 guys, but McCaslin doesn't like going to that super small lineup with Darion Williams at the 5 for a few different reasons. But yeah, it's anybody. And when you look at Pop Isaacs, his 3-point shooting numbers, that's kind of a product of, he had 2 spells of just really cold shooting. There was a 5-game stretch in the middle of Big 12 play where he shot 9% from 3.
Ooh.
Yeah, it was not good, but he started to come around a little bit more. Chance McMillan, Kerwin Walton, Darion Williams, they've been consistent throughout the year. And Joe Toussaint, he's not a 3-point maker per se, but he can make them. And what he usually does is he'll make the ones that you're like, how did you make that? He had
Right.
one against BYU last week. Just a tough contest against a much bigger guy. He's just a gamer, and that's just kind of what they're going to do. They know they're going to miss some of them. That's why the cold spells happen, but they're just confident enough. No, we're going to make more than we probably should because we're good enough to do
it. Nathan Geese from the Lubbock Avalanche Journal is joining us here on the Adam Gold Show. When things are not going well, is it born just out of cold shooting night, or because you have so many guards, although there are some big guards, 6'6" is a big guard, that they're vulnerable to getting beat up on the glass? When things aren't going well for Texas Tech, what's going wrong?
That's kind of the weird thing about this team. It's happened in so many different ways. They've won games where they've been really bad at taking care of the ball. They did that against BYU. They've won games where they got crushed on the glass. They did that a couple of times this year. They've won games where they shot poorly because they've just been able to defend a little bit. The main thing for them is if they're turning the ball over a lot, it's kind of game over for them. Mm-hmm. That's kind of how the Houston Big 12 tournament semifinal got away from them. They came back. They were down. Darion Williams, Warren Washington was already out, so they were down 2 starters in that game, had it tied, and they just couldn't hang on to the ball, and that's where the game got away from them. That's kind of the big key, is if they can take care of it, then they can run their offense, and that's when everything starts spinning in their direction.
How has the community rallied behind this group? I know what's going on here with the Wolfpack, and there was a lot of people who were really down on it, and then they win 5 games in 5 days, and now everybody is back on the bandwagon. In fact, they're kicking people off the bandwagon. How has the community rallied around this program?
The thing about Texas Tech fans is they're live or die with your team, for better or for worse. So last year when it was not good, it was still very much that we want to support you, but we need a reason to support you. And that's kind of what they were looking for with McCaslin from this team. And they gave him a reason, especially at the start of Big 12 play, because when you're going through November, December, McCaslin set up the schedule. Like, we know these guys aren't great opponents, but we need to figure out what this team is. So it was kind of a slow build. But once they got into Big 12 play, they just started beating all these teams and being so much better than I think anybody really anticipated, that they came back and drove, like, all right, we're in, this is our guy, this is our team, this is how we're going to do things. They've really rallied around this group.
Nathan Geese is joining us here on the Adam Gold Show. He covers Texas Tech, and they will play the Wolfpack coming up. How are they talking about this game back in Lubbock? How are they looking at, State's obviously got history, but it is all that. It is past history, 2 national championships. How are the Red Raiders faithful approaching this game?
Well, if it's any indication, on the selection show they held at the arena there with the team and some fans everybody was invited that wanted to come. As soon as NC State's name came up, it was like, ooh, okay, because everybody knows that they just won 5 games in 5 days to even get into this tournament.
Right.
And that's kind of one of those red flags that, okay, this team's hot. They maybe weren't great, but they found something here or something's working. Like, okay, this is a team we have to take seriously. And there's no easy games in this tournament, whether you want to, anybody wants to admit it or not. Anybody can beat anybody. That's kind of what makes March Madness madness. It just happens that way. But they are looking at this as, all right, we are the higher seed. They're in 11. They're barely here. We've been in the tournament confirmed for a while now. But we have to take care of the business here. And that's what they're focused on.
Nathan Geese from the Lubbock Avalanche Journal, who covers Texas Tech. Is everybody preparing for a long run based on going through the wars of the Big 12?
I think that can help them, but there is kind of that thing of, we've seen it a couple of times with some of these other conferences in past years where, it's a grind every night. It's a battle every single day. And sometimes that battle just wears you down when you get to this point, and that can happen here. The big thing for Texas Tech is we don't know what their health status is right now. We're talking right now on Wednesday morning. We're about to go talk to them for their pregame interviews and everything, where hopefully we'll find out what the status of Darion Williams and Warren Washington is. If they don't have those guys, it's a very different conversation. Now, Washington's been out for a couple of weeks now, and it actually improved on defense. They've won some big games. They beat Baylor, beat BYU without him. But if you take out Darion Williams, who got hurt his ankle in the tournament, it's a very different situation because they're already thin. They're not big. And Williams is such a versatile guy that when Washington went out, they started running a lot of Washington's actions through Williams, who can also be a ball handler for you. Mm-hmm. So if he's not at even 85 to 90%, it's a very different conversation, which right now everybody's optimistic he'll be all right. He'll be able to go. But until we know and we see him do it, it's just kind of a mystery.
Nathan Geese from the Lubbock Avalanche Journal covers Texas Tech. I will wish you good luck. I hope travels are good. I hope everything is as fun as this tournament is laid out to be. And I appreciate your time as you get ready for the madness of March. Good luck.
Well, thank you. Should be fun.
It's always fun. March is always fun. By the way, the movie brackets are through round 1.
Nice.
There were some upsets. It was not kind to the top seeds.
Uh-oh.
North Carolina's out.
Oh, no.
Yeah. Arizona's also out.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah, we lost 2 number ones. Connecticut lost.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
just cleaning house.
We lost 2 number 1 seeds and I think 3 number 2 seeds.
Wow.
In the first round.
Lots of underdogs.
Because of the movies.
Yeah.
Because of the movies.
Box office.
Yeah, we'll get to that. Also, I'll give you my brackets. I have brackets. I've actually done one. And it's not a good one, I'm sure of it. But we'll do all of that and we'll place bets next.
Raleigh to Boone, Charlotte to Chapel Hill. Your Carolina is covered. Adam Gold on the North Carolina Sports Network.
Are you struggling with your Medicare drug costs? The NC Department of Insurance SHIP program may be able to help. The Extra Help and Medicare savings programs are available for those who qualify, but you have to apply. Contact SHIP today to see if you qualify. Visit ncshiip.com or call toll-free at 855-408-1212. SHIP provides free, unbiased help in all 100 counties.
Project supported by grants from the Administration for Community Living. Contents do not necessarily represent official views of, nor an endorsement by ACL, HHS, or the U.S. government.
North Carolina, we are finally in it. FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook, is officially live here in our great state. And right now, new customers get $250 in bonus bets guaranteed when you wager your first $5. That's right. Go to FanDuel.com, promo code AGS to sign up, and then you can bet on everything from the money line, who's going to win, total points, which team will cut the nets down, all on an app that is safe, secure, and super easy to use. Take the court with $250 in bonus bets, win or lose, when you make your first $5 wager. FanDuel.com, promo code AGS to get started. FanDuel is America's #1 sportsbook. You must be 21 years of age and older and present in North Carolina. First online real money wager only. $10 deposit required. Bonuses issued as non-withdrawable bonus bets that expire 7 days after receipt. Restrictions apply. See full terms at FanDuel.com/sportsbook. Gambling problem? Call 877-718-5543 or visit morethanagame.nc.gov.
This year, more than 600,000 people are eligible for coverage under the new Medicaid expansion program passed by the North Carolina State Legislature. This means that more people than ever before qualify for services. Brian Floyd is the Chief Operating Officer of ECU Health and discusses these issues on this month's Conversations on Healthcare podcast with the North Carolina Healthcare Association.
Rural communities are affected even more because people who don't have insurance will seek out care in the emergency department. We really want people to get Medicaid expansion, get to see a primary care doctor, and avoid the use of an emergency department that consumes those resources that might really be needed for true emergencies.
You can listen to the rest of this discussion on Conversations on the State of Healthcare podcast with the North Carolina Healthcare Association, wherever you find your favorite podcasts. Learn more about Medicaid expansion and other important healthcare issues at nchealthcare.org. That's nchealthcare.org.
During this sports season, the Governor's Highway Safety Program would like to remind you to buckle your seatbelt when traveling to and from athletic events. Whether you are driving out of or across town, wearing a seatbelt is your best defense against injury or death in a crash. Start the season off right, prioritize your safety, and buckle up. Every seat, every time. Remember, click it or ticket. It's the law. This message is brought to you by the North Carolina High School Athletic Association and the Governor's Highway Safety Program.
Need money for college? Well, if you're a North Carolinian from a household making $80,000 or less, the next NC scholarship could pay for more than half, if not all, of your tuition and fees at any NC community college or public university. And it doesn't have to be repaid. We're talking at least $3,000 for community college or $5,000 for a public university, and possibly more. Get all the details about the new Next NC Scholarship and see how simple it is to apply at nextncscholarship.org.
From the mountains to the coast, there is tremendous pride in North Carolina agriculture. NC Forever Farms is a program recognizing family farms that are protecting precious working lands vital to the future of agriculture. Through permanent agricultural conservation easements, these NC Forever Farms will always be protected from development. Learn more about preserving family farms through the Farmland Preservation Division of the North Carolina Department of Agriculture and Consumer Services by visiting ncadfp.org.
This is Adam Gold.
Anti-vax, anti-sax. Who's going to say no to that on the campaign trail? You can put that on a bumper sticker. You can slap that on the podium when Aaron Rodgers is at the campaign rally. You're not going to be a football player for the Jets and be on the ticket and campaign. You can't do both.
The Adam Gold Show.
It's the Adam Gold Show. I am Adam Gold. Victoria's here. The movie brackets are into round 2. We lost North Carolina. That was to be expected. Patch Adams is never going to beat The Godfather. It's unfortunate. But another upset was the fact that UConn lost. Of course, I could not find a movie that was made anywhere near Connecticut's campus.
Oh, that's unfortunate.
And there's not a great number of movies made in Connecticut.
Yeah, I could see that.
I mean, there's some good ones, actually.
Right.
I went with the Indiana Jones Kingdom of the Crystal Skull.
Okay.
Which is the 4th one. There's another one coming, by the way, which scares me.
Yeah.
But this one wasn't very good.
No.
And it lost to Stetson, the Water Boy.
Wow. Okay.
I mean, it's an Adam Sandler movie. They're all the same.
They really are. There's some big Adam Sandler
It is the
fans.
only Adam Sandler movie in the field, The Waterboy.
Right.
But I don't know. I think Florida Atlantic is in pretty good shape. Caddyshack advanced. So Caddyshack, that region. Whoo, boy.
Such a good movie.
The region where Duke is in, also stout. Some of the matchups coming up in that region are just tremendous. We'll give you those a little bit later on. Anyway, it's time to stretch, and then we place bets.
All right. So in Vermont, I know Duke is going to be taking on Vermont Catamounts. However, at Vermont State University, they are learning about some odd things, I guess you could say.
Yeah, Vermont State University. Okay.
Yes. They are offering a course on Weird Al Yankovic.
That's a good course. Take it.
Exactly. So Professor Brian Warwick says, quote, Al Yankovic's work is not just about the parodies. It's also about his tribute songs, where it's actually an original work by Al Yankovic, but he's paying tribute to another artist. So the course analyzes what makes a good parody, how to pay tribute to another artist, Al's lyricism, and the context of the word when the songs were written. So there you go.
That would be a fascinating class. I'm not even going to lie. Gangster Paradise, which is a great track in and of itself.
It is.
When I listen to it, all I hear is Amish Paradise.
Yeah.
It is.
Or Beat It. Do you hear Eat It all the time?
I don't with that one.
Okay.
I don't with that one. But I'm telling you, Amish Paradise is something else.
It is.
And I can't listen to American Pie without his version of it. I forget the title of it, but it's all about Star Wars.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, it's so good.
I know. He was hot for a while there in the 90s, just coming out with all kinds.
Brilliant.
Yes.
He is brilliant.
He was coming out with all kinds of stuff. He should make a resurgence. But yeah, so if you're interested in that and you're going to Vermont State, you could take that course if you want to. And I thought this was fascinating. Speaking of music, there was a study done on music that helps you stay focused while driving, which driving is difficult enough in this area because people are very aggressive. But
yes,
there was a new study that kind of looked at 20 popular artists, and they had the results. Now, I don't know about all 1 through 20, but I do have the top 10, and just letting you know, the top 3, well, actually, it's the top 4 because top 2 tied. So, number 4, I guess you could say, Billie Eilish. Which, do you know a lot of Billie Eilish?
I mean, I don't know a lot of Billie Eilish, but I know who she is.
She's a little dark. I like her. Now, tied for second, Ariana Grande and Eminem. So, there you go. That makes sense.
Interesting combination.
And number 1, Drake. How does Drake keep people focused on the roads? I don't understand. This is so weird.
Maybe it's because they're angry.
Maybe.
I would be angry if I had to listen to Drake on the road.
Maybe. I don't know.
Not a
but
Drake guy.
it did say that the artists that were least helpful in this were Megan Thee Stallion and Bach. Now, I could see anger because Megan, she's got some bars, but Bach? Really?
Like Johann Sebastian?
Yes.
So, look, I can get that because classical music can make you
sleepy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I can see it.
Yeah. Well, the participants, the study that they went through was a series of hazard perception tests, I should say, while listening to this stuff. So, yes, they might have been put to sleep during this stuff.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's interesting studies that they put out there nowadays. So, but another thing that's interesting and I like to do, place some bets.
Let's try
it. Place your bets. Here we are. I bet you slice into the woods $100.
Gambling is illegal at Bushwood, sir, and I never slide.
Okay, you can owe me. I owe you nothing.
All right, let's do this. I won the anytime home run from Manny Machado yesterday.
Oh, did you?
I think the other stuff lost, but I really haven't paid much attention.
Okay. Yeah, well, I went 1 for 3 yesterday, so who was my anytime goal scorer? I had one of those, and he scored. I checked. Oh, it was John Tavares.
Oh, look at that.
Yeah, because that was a game. Woo! the Caps and the Maple Leafs. Anyway, tonight our Canes will be at home taking on the Flyers. You know what? Give me the new guys. One of our new guys is an anytime goal scorer, Jake Guentzel, plus 145.
All right, I like that. I like Jake Guentzel.
Yeah.
All right, let's do basketball. Coming up in a little bit, North Carolina, Wagner. Carolina's favored by 24.5. Give me Wagner plus 24.5. I mean, I think Carolina's going to win comfortably.
I see what you're doing.
Give me Wagner plus 24.5. Over 133.5. Plus, I think it's plus 210.
Oh, okay. Well, that's a smart move to make because, they're going to
Well, that's just a lot of points. And Carolina's going to win big, but it's a lot of points.
Yeah, I looked at their some of their odds, and there wasn't a lot of nothing but negatives there. Also, I'm going to do Buffalo Sabres and Edmonton Oilers. Give me Connor McDavid because why not? Why is he plus money? He's plus 20, so that feels like easy money. Anytime goal scorer.
All right. Wolfpack played tonight. Wolfpack winning it outright over Texas Tech. Give me the Wolfpack and under 145.5 at plus 345.
See, that's my last one, NC State and Texas Tech. However, I'm going the route of first half winner and last half winner. Just in case Texas Tech likes to be a little spicy, maybe come out hot, I could say maybe they'd lead, but then State's going to come through with the win. That's plus 700.
Ooh, that's a lot.
I know.
All right, so let's try this one more time. Canes to win. All right? We're going to go Andrei Svechnikov, anytime goal scorer. Overtime. Plus 2150.
Whoa.
At some point, this is going to hit.
Well, they're doing overtime because they didn't do it during the Islanders game.
That's right. Canes in overtime. Andrei Svechnikov, an anytime goal scorer, plus 2150. That's a lot. Oh, man. If I'm not here tomorrow.
I know. You know what happened.
We'll be right back. Wallace Sound and Brackets next.
Serving it up hot and fresh every day. Adam Gold on the North Carolina Sports Network.
Hey, I'm Tim Donnelly from 99.9 The Fan.
And I'm Brian Murphy from WRAL News. Sports betting is finally legal in North Carolina. Getting to this point, in this state, wasn't easy.
How it happened is a backstory worth telling, and that's what we're going to do in a new season of our podcast, A Brief History of Triangle Sports. The podcast is out now.
Follow A Brief History of Triangle Sports on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts, or on YouTube.
Were you forced to get a nosebleed mortgage rate in the past year? Loan Pronto is here to rescue you. Hey, it's Dennis Cox. Listen, if your mortgage rate is over 7, you're going to be in heaven with Loan Pronto's zero-cost refi. You can cut your house payment by hundreds of dollars with zero closing costs. Rates have come down, so you can say goodbye to that bad loan you got stuck with. Loan Pronto's now got APRs with fixed rates in the 5s. One couple just did this and saved over $550 a month with no appraisal and closed in 10 days. So, don't live with that stupid rate a day longer. You can lock in at a lower rate now with no cost and very little paperwork. Loan Pronto, your easy button for lower rates and no closing cost loans. Call now and see how much lower you can get your house payment. Refi now and you can even skip your next 2 house payments altogether. 919-381-1760. 919-381-1760. LoanPronto.com. 919-381-1760. NMLS 1661781. Subject to lender approval. Equal housing lender.
I noticed that my central vision started to blur.
Figures that are usually straight started to distort and become wavy.
What are these little dark spots with blurring that I'm seeing?
There's a blind spot like a blob over my vision now.
Is my vision lost forever? Why did I wait so long to see a retina specialist?
Retinal disease can steal your eyesight, but it doesn't have to. Patients who seek care from a retina specialist in a timely manner have the best chance of preventing vision loss due to age-related macular degeneration or diabetic retinopathy. AMD symptoms to look out for are distortion or warping of straight lines, as well as blurred or loss of central vision. Patients with diabetic retinopathy should seek treatment if they notice the appearance of spots or floaters or blurred and distorted vision. Don't delay seeing a retina specialist. It's worth the visit to save your vision so you don't miss out on life's precious moments, like seeing your grandchild grow up, enjoying a sunset with that special someone, or reading a good book. Visit seeforalifetime.org.
As a veteran of the United States military, I can finally get the opportunity to enjoy special events, like a date with my wife, or going out together with my family and friends, things that we couldn't afford, thanks to VetTix. Every empty seat at a concert, a game, motorsports, or a play is a missed opportunity to say thanks to a veteran and service member. We can help. We can give our veterans a special event where they too can create their own cherished memories. Find out how by visiting www.vettix.org. That's www.vettix.org. Find out how you can make a difference in a veteran's life.
Every second counts in a poison emergency. That's why Poison Help is standing by 24/7 to provide free assistance in over 100 languages. Save Poison Help as a contact in your phone today. Poison Help. 1-800-222-1222.
This hour of Buzz Sports Radio is brought to you by the Ritchie Law Firm Injury Lawyers.
Jeremy on the drive, all the way in, off the window for two! The captain delivers!
Go to GotBryan.com. That's GotBryan.com.
Your home for Duke basketball. WCMC HD2 HD3 Holly Springs, WDNC AM Durham, and WCLY AM Raleigh. The Buzz.
But it feels like the NFL is not adapting to what these quarterbacks are doing coming out of college. And that's an NFL problem because you can't keep missing on these guys because eventually the older quarterbacks are going to age out and you're going to end up with this absolute quarterback desert across the league. And it's going to be, the Patrick Mahomeses and then a wide gap and then a collection of guys at the bottom from teams that are not adapting and adjusting to what these guys have been good at in the college game.
That's Brooke Pryor from yesterday's program. Was it yesterday or the day before? Day before.
Day before.
I don't even remember. What day is today?
It's all meshing together.
Basketball day.
Mm-hmm.
That's what day it is. The NCAA tournament is all in full swing, and we are on the court in, I think, 4 regions right now. I am Adam Gold. This is the Adam Gold Show. Victoria is here. Coming up in a little bit, Tarun Sharma, sports attorney, NIL expert, part of the Conduct Detrimental podcast family of lawyers, will join us to talk about not just Clemson trying to sue their way out of the Atlantic Coast Conference and the obvious demise of the league that would create, but also a tennis player at the University of North Carolina is suing the NCAA for it's an antitrust lawsuit brought against the NCAA for restricting her ability to earn money in a professional tennis event, right? So if we're familiar with the recent history of what has happened to the NCAA in court, the attorneys general in Virginia and Tennessee sued the NCAA and said, you can't enforce your NIL laws that say that NIL cannot be used as a recruiting inducement. You can't even enforce that rule. And they won. The NCAA took yet another loss. So all of the rules about how NIL could be applied are gone.
Yeah.
Completely gone. So it doesn't really make any sense that a college tennis player isn't allowed to go play in a professional tennis event and take the prize money. So she's suing. And I'm not an expert on this, but I'm going to make a prediction.
Yeah.
She's going to win.
Safe bet, I think.
And if I were the NCAA, I would say, you know what? Maybe we'll sit this out.
Mm-hmm.
We'll see what happens.
Yeah.
Anyway, we'll talk about that with Tarun Sharma, and maybe we'll get to Clemson. Real quick update on college basketball courts. Michigan State has resumed absolutely ripping apart Mississippi State.
Just took them a minute to warm up, I guess.
Oh, my gosh. No, Michigan State has been on top pretty much all game. Mississippi State has kind of made some runs at it. Michigan State by 16, 66-50. Long Beach State and Arizona are just underway. Akron and Creighton, I think Creighton's really good. Akron and Creighton are tied at 31 late in the first half. And Duquesne has an 11-point lead over BYU, and they are early in a contentious game. It's getting a little chippy between the Cougars and the Dukes. So that's actually one of my upset picks is Duquesne.
Is this from the movie bracket?
No. This is my own bracket.
I see.
My own bracket, which, you know what? Why don't we go through I'm not going to give you every single pick. I'll put it all on Twitter. But I do have UConn advancing out of the East all the way to the Final Four. And I really don't have any upsets in that region other than Baylor beating Arizona in the Sweet 16.
Yeah.
So I have UConn over Iowa State getting to the Final Four. I have UNC over Baylor getting to the Final Four. That's not the same region, by the way. I have Iowa State, who's the 2 seed, getting to meet UConn. They lose. UConn and UNC meeting in the Final Four. No real crazy upsets there. I do have New Mexico beating Clemson. That's the only thing that really, and Duquesne beating BYU. In the other half of the field, I have Houston losing in the second round at Texas A&M. I think Texas A&M's good.
Yeah.
I'm back and forth between Duke and Marquette.
Yeah.
I'm back and forth between Duke and Marquette. Part of me is, you know what? We're the ACC, and we're going to show these jokers.
Yeah.
So, Duke to the Final Four. Probably not a wise pick. And I have Creighton going to the Final Four out of that last region.
Yeah.
Which would make it ACC versus Big East. 2 leagues that, well, I think the ACC ultimately, even though Pittsburgh and Wake look like tournament teams, their resumes don't, so I get it. Virginia should not have gone. They had no business getting a bid. But the ACC has taken it on the chin all year, and they have for several years, and they keep putting teams in the Final Four and Elite Eight and Sweet 16s. But the Big East has 3 great teams. Connecticut's the best team. Again, I picked them to get to the Final Four. Marquette's been awesome all year, and so is Creighton. And yet none of the other schools got a bid?
Right. No sense.
I just like, what?
That's no sense.
If you have a 1, a 2, and a 3, and you've got however many teams, 12 teams, whatever the Big East has, you didn't get like a team, an 8, a 10?
Anything?
Nothing? So, yeah, I think we're going to see a little bit of a Big East. But, of course, Creighton is not blowing out Marquette.
No.
And not Marquette, Akron. Other than that, I have McNeese State advancing to the second round. Again, not a ton of upsets, but I did have Houston losing. Oh, and I have Utah State beating Purdue in the second round.
Yeah.
It's Purdue, mostly because I don't want to watch them.
Yeah.
I
Like
just don't.
Virginia, but spelled Purdue.
It's right. It's my bracket. I can do what I want.
Yeah, you can.
And I don't want to watch Purdue.
Yeah.
Sorry, Purdue. I'm done with you. All right. So that's that. We'll give you a little. Actually, let me throw the some of the movie bracket out at you. Waterboy and Caddyshack is shockingly close right now, with Caddyshack holding a 57-43 lead early. This poll will be up for 5 hours.
Yeah.
Space Jam is running away with over Fast and Furious.
Yes.
Have you ever seen a Fast and Furious movie?
I've seen, I think, all of them. No, I don't think I've seen all of them because they keep making them.
I saw the one with The Rock in it.
Okay. I cannot tell you which one that is. I've seen up to Tokyo Drift.
I don't know what that is.
That may have been in
That
the
sounds
early
like a
2000s.
condition. It sounds like something I need to get a lotion for.
Yeah. Well,
I have a little of the Tokyo Drift.
Yeah.
So,
it's the season for the drift.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Duquesne, Silence of the Lambs. could be difficult to beat.
Yes.
It's one of the all-time great movies.
It's a great movie.
Yeah, and Illinois with honors. I couldn't find a movie made like on campus or anywhere near it, so I kind of had to fudge that.
Yeah.
Let's see, Washington State, South Dakota State, The Natural versus National Treasure. Like, I've seen all the National Treasure movies. I like them.
Mm-hmm.
The first one, that was the one with the Declaration of Independence. That was the best one.
Yeah. Usually the first ones are.
That lost famously. Actually, in Men in Black 3. Men in Black 3 is the best Men in Black.
Mm-hmm.
And as much as I love Men in Black 2, simply because Rosario Dawson is in it.
Right, yeah. Well,
I need a moment.
To each their own.
I need a moment.
Well,
you ever seen Percy Jackson?
No.
Percy Jackson and the Lightning Thief?
No.
Yeah. Rosario Dawson plays Hades' wife.
Oh, I think I've seen previews, but I have not actually seen the movie. Moment of silence for Adam.
Okay, moving on. Godfather Wagner, it looks like it's going to advance to the Sweet 16. They're beating up on Mississippi State. Time to Kill. Right now it's 78-22. There's some outstanding. We're going to lose Alabama. Mrs. Doubtfire. Great movie.
Oh, yeah.
Was filmed like
great 90s.
St. Mary's in Northern California.
Yeah.
Mrs. Doubtfire is
R.I.P. Robin Williams.
Yeah, absolutely.
Great.
Clemson Deliverance beat Every Which Way But Loose. I'm telling you, go watch Every Which Way But Loose.
Yes.
Deliverance is also a great movie.
Who was it that said taught them things in life? We just had someone on a couple days ago. I'm like,
taught them things.
It was educational.
It's terrible. It's terrible that was educational, but it is what it is.
Yeah.
Slapshot though is going to beat it.
Oh man, when you asked what my favorite sports movie is, Slapshot was up there. I love
Slapshot. Is tremendous. The Wisconsin Duke matchup is going to be interesting. Wisconsin back to school.
No, yeah.
Great movie.
Yes.
Duke Bull Durham.
Man, we got to go with Bull Durham here. Do we have a choice? We don't.
Not really. I mean,
we do, but we don't.
Right, we do, but we don't. Look, Purdue Hoosiers. Good movie. I'm not anti-Hoosiers. I don't find it as great as everybody else does.
No.
I like the movie. All right. To me, it's sort of the way some people feel about Beyonce.
Yeah.
I like Beyonce.
Right. And then there are some obsessed.
I'm not with you on the
the Beehive.
The Bayhive. I'm not with you on that.
Yeah, exactly.
Much more Team Taylor Swift, by the way.
Oh, yeah. Tay-Tay's awesome.
And yes, but
Avatar is another one of those movies people are like,
Hoosiers could get run by The Sandlot.
Oh, yeah.
So just throw that out at you.
Mm-hmm.
And there we go. All right. That was the whole segment, wasn't it?
This is great.
When we come back, a conversation about how do you stop a college tennis player from earning money away from school playing tennis when players in football and basketball are being paid just to show up on your campus. We'll talk about that with Tarun Sharma next.
Raleigh to Boone, Charlotte to Chapel Hill. Your Carolina is covered. Adam Gold on the North Carolina Sports Network.
Bring on the madness.
There's the horn and the pack's done it. NC State is the 2024 ACC Men's Basketball Champion. 84-76 the final here in Washington, D.C. And the Pack is going to the NCAA tournament for the second year in a row, and they've done it the old-fashioned way. They have earned it.
College basketball tournament action on 99.9 The Fan is powered by Wake Med, Roofworks, and Wilkinson Chevrolet Cadillac Buick GMC in Sanford.
Imagine pulling up to PNC Arena on your very own Hurricanes Harley-Davidson motorcycle. That dream can become a reality. The Law Tigers, Tobacco Road Harley-Davidson, Shiny Side Paint, and your Carolina Hurricanes are teaming up to give the Ultimate Caniac a custom Hurricanes 2023 Harley-Davidson Softail. The bike will be given away live on the ice at the game on April 5th, and you might just win it. Go to caniacsbike.com. That's caniacsbike.com for your chance to win this custom-painted beauty of a bike. Do it now. Enter today.
To some people, the sound of a baby babbling doesn't mean much. But that's not necessarily true. By 6 months, they're combining vowels and consonants. By 9 months, they're trying out different kinds of sounds. And by 12 months, their babbling is beginning to take on some meaning. Especially if there's no babbling at all. Little to no babbling by 12 months or later is just one of the possible signs of autism in children. Early screening and intervention can make a lifetime of difference and unlock a world of possibilities. Take the first step at autismspeaks.org. A public service announcement brought to you by Autism Speaks and the Ad Council.
Don't you wish your life came with a warning app?
Stop. That dog does not want to be petted.
Just a little heads up before something bad happens.
Move your coffee cup away from your computer. Oh, no, 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 no.
So you can have more control.
Stop. You're texting your boss by mistake.
Uh-oh. Well, life doesn't always give you time to change the outcome, but prediabetes does. With early diagnosis and a few healthy changes like managing your weight, getting active, stopping smoking, and eating healthier, you can stop prediabetes before it leads to type 2 diabetes. It's easy to learn your risk. Take the 1-minute test today at doihaveprediabetes.org.
Warning, the cap is loose on that ketchup.
Ugh. Don't wait. You have the power to change the outcome. Visit doihaveprediabetes.org today. That's doihaveprediabetes.org. Brought to you by the Ad Council and its prediabetes awareness partners.
The Alzheimer's Association and the Ad Council present the story of Cynthia and Ed.
My mother was always very active and independent, and she was familiar with her neighborhood. But one day, out of the blue, she stopped at the stop sign for much longer than usual. And she didn't know whether she should go forward or turn or just stay at the stop sign. She wasn't even really sure where she was at. She was very concerned. It was very unsettling for her.
It's important for you to talk to someone about it, to bring the family in on it. I felt so much better after my son told me, Mom, I don't want you to worry or be afraid. I'll be there for you and we'll figure it out.
When something feels different, it could be Alzheimer's. Now is the time to talk. Visit alz.org/ourstories to learn more. A message from the Alzheimer's Association and the Ad Council.
This is Adam Gold.
What type of soup is Jason Kelsey?
He would be like a chicken and dumplings.
Oh, chicken and dumpling.
Yeah.
Very nice. Maybe like an Italian wedding soup. What kind of soup would Travis Kelsey be?
Travis, I feel like he'd be like a tomato bisque.
The Adam Gold Show.
Oh boy, what a juicy week for sports and the law, which means that you must be listening to the Conduct Detrimental podcast. Tarun Sharma not only appears there, but also runs the Sports and NIL Clinic at the University of Minnesota Law School. He is an attorney and an NIL expert, and I appreciate your time, sir. We are going to be busy here. I want to start with a North Carolina issue, if I could localize it right out of the gate, because a UNC tennis player has sued an antitrust lawsuit. Reese Brantmeyer is her name. She sued the NCAA because they won't let her. I don't think they won't let her participate in a tournament, a for-pay tournament, a professional tournament, because it's against the pay-for-play. Meanwhile, the NCAA can't enforce their pay-for-play NIL rules. They've been forbidden to do that. So square all of this for me if you can.
Yeah, thanks for having me on, Adam. Always happy to jump on. I think that all of these cases, and we'll also get into Clemson later, but all of these things kind of reminds me of that saying, like, how do you eat an elephant? And it's one bite at a time. And so there have been all of these efforts, I think, for a long time to to get the NCAA to come down off of some of these rules that were put in place with the intention of upholding amateurism, whatever that means.
Right.
And what that's meant for a long time is that the labor can't make money off of the out of what they're producing, while everyone else around them, whether it's TV executives or coaches, administrators, the university itself, can.
Right.
And so I think that's starting to change in a big way. And so I find the UNC tennis case particularly interesting because it's not the first time that we've heard of a UNC women's tennis player being affected by something like this. They have a great program over there, obviously, which as a Duke guy, you know how difficult that is for me to say. But this is very similar to the Fiona Crawley situation. She was forced to give up something like $81,000 in earnings from the U.S. Open. Similarly, Reese Brantmeyer had to give up something like $50K in earnings. And this is not insignificant money, especially as it relates to someone who is 19, 21 years old, right? That would have been really significant money to me at that age. It would still be significant money to me right now. And so these are efforts that these women have made to hone their craft to the point where they are capable of competing with the best professionals in the world and winning matches, and that entitles them to some sort of monetary reward. And it shouldn't be some arbitrary NCAA rule meant to prevent the student athletes from making money that prevents them from enjoying the fruits of their labor. And so that's my take on it. And so I'm excited to see that these that both Crawley and now Brantmeyer are speaking up about this, because it is money that they've rightfully earned.
Tarun Sharma is joining us here on the Adam Gold Show, sports attorney, conduct detrimental to podcast. You can see him there, runs the University of Minnesota NIL and Sports Law Clinic. It just brings to mind so many different things. Imagine if the NCAA had anybody who was forward-thinking and they allowed Katie Ledecky to swim professionally and earn money off of her off of who she was through endorsements, and also still swim for Stanford. Or Michelle Wie not only play golf at Stanford, but play in the handful of tournaments that she was playing on the LPGA Tour. Just imagine all of the possibilities and how it would raise the profile of intercollegiate athletics. I'm baffled why they couldn't see it that way.
Yeah, I don't know what's going to happen at this point. I think a lot of this is just aiming not to get sued, and that's probably pretty good legal advice. If I was on the NCAA side, I think that would be similar. Because, look, I think that they thought that they were invincible, right? They win they lose the case in 1984, but they get that little piece of dicta in the Board of Regents case. And from then on, it's like, the NCAA basically has free reign to take whatever action that they need to take in order to preserve amateurism, which is a critical trait of intercollegiate athletics. And because of that one small line from Justice Stevens, that we end up with the NCAA really, you give them an inch and they took a mile to enforce amateurism. And so there are some programs that they've allowed that are good, right? Like, so one thing is this Operation Gold program, where the entities that govern a certain sport. So, for instance, like USA Wrestling could pay Gable Stevenson's training costs to a certain extent without running afoul of NCAA rules. And so that stuff is great, but it's always a half measure. They don't want to give up power. And so even if they were forward thinking at this point, which they're not, right? But even if they were, I think that there's too much fear that they would get sued for whatever they do and they would lose, and that would cause those legal bills to run up more. So I think that they're stuck in this point of inaction, which is why they keep going to Congress and begging for some sort of national rule, because that's the only thing that's going to keep them relevant moving into this next era, because we're almost certain to get some sort of ruling. And the one that I think most of us have our eyes on are either this NLRB ruling with USC or the House case. And so both of those things have the real potential to completely bring the NCAA to its knees. Right now, it's been taking body blows for the last, almost a decade now, but we're, I think, really on the precipice of a complete shift in how the model works. And so for anyone that's listening that is frustrated with the current state of intercollegiate athletics, I hear that. I grew up, rooting for teams where guys came to school and they stuck out adversity and they stayed for 4 years and they, because they didn't have necessarily other options. There were a few transfers here and there. I remember Dante Jones,
going from Rutgers to Duke.
Yeah, exactly. But other than the rare guy, there were very few of those. And so I think that there is something to be said if you're being compensated fairly, if you're signing an employment contract, if your rights are being collectively bargained, that you can agree to give up some of those. But in absence of that, I don't see how the NCAA can arbitrarily just set rules and say, yeah, you've got to follow these. And that's what they're finding out right now, too. And it's taken some judges that actually understand the law that don't want to give them a free antitrust pass just because they are this entity. And so I think that this in-between era isn't great. And I also long for old times, maybe a lot because of nostalgia, but I think that we're going to get to a place that is more recognizable to the OG NCAA fan. I really think that is in the cards, and we'll see it just with labor being compensated for the value that they're creating.
Yeah, and honestly, that's the way this all should have been. I've used this example before. Tarun Sharma, I want to get to the Clemson ACC situation here in whatever time we have left. But I've used this example. The ACC 25 years ago doled out more money per school in media rights revenue than any other conference. In 1999, they distributed $9 million to each school. That was the number. The Big Ten and the SEC will go north of $100 million within the next 3 years. And the value of 1999, $9 million is about $17 million today. So we are talking about a five, maybe six-fold increase in the value of media in college sports today. How is it possible that they can't find money to compensate athletes fairly, or just collectively bargained? Because just because you collectively bargain an arrangement doesn't necessarily mean there has to be a lot of money involved. You can collectively bargain anything.
Yeah, you can. The Major League Baseball Players Association makes bad deals all the time, so it's definitely possible for a collectively bargaining to be in the favor of ownership, and often it is, but. Yeah, I think that they didn't want to, right? They saw all this money. They realized that, hey, we've got free labor.
It's ours. It's our money. It's not the kids.
Yeah, exactly. And so I think that they've missed out here. But I did not know that about $9 million being the most.
Yeah.
So 25 years ago?
1999, the SEC was second at $8 million. The ACC was first at $9 million per school.
Yeah, and it's interesting because the ACC was pretty early to expand, right? They added Boston College and Miami and Virginia Tech at that time, and that seemed pretty forward-thinking. But I think that they locked themselves into a bad contract, and that's why they have the issues that they have right now.
All right, let's get to the Clemson thing in the couple of minutes we have left with Tarun Sharma. So Clemson suing the ACC. I mean, they can dress it up, but, I mean, I'm not wrong in thinking that they're simply trying to force the ACC to come to the bargaining table so they can agree on a number that would be amenable to both sides to allow Clemson to exit, right?
Yeah. So I think that, and we've talked about this before, but the issue with settling, even with Florida State, is don't you open the floodgates then?
Yeah.
And
it's a bad deal for the ACC.
Yeah, that meets that number, which is not going to be enough in terms of what the value is of keeping a brand like Florida State or keeping Clemson, or more importantly, keeping North Carolina or some of the other bigger schools. And so if you say, yeah, our grant of rights, you guys are right, it doesn't actually mean that we continue to own the media rights for your home games after you leave the conference through 2036 or whatever it is, then yeah, I mean, you might as well just, that's the death knell for the conference. Everyone will leave. And so, or the people that can't will stay, and in which case you don't have a power conference anyway, probably. So I think that is a legitimate concern. We're going to get a hearing this week. It's tomorrow, I believe, in North Carolina. As you recall, or anyone listening, when Florida State filed suit, the ACC preemptively filed suit against them for breach of contract in North Carolina. Obviously, the ACC is based in Charlotte. And so we're going to get a hearing in North Carolina on Friday. And so it'll be interesting to see what the judges there have to say. You would think that the ACC had scouted out which court they were going to file in, and we're going to get a good result. So I think that this is going to continue to escalate, because I think Florida State, there's probably a number that they would be willing to pay, because I think there's a value that they're looking at. Look, this is $40 to $50 million every year, which really puts the $9 million and $17 million modern number into perspective, right? That's multiple years of operating budget. And so if you fall behind $40 to $50 million behind Ohio State or Michigan or whoever, that is, it's perilous for your football program's future, especially if we get into some sort of employment scheme where there isn't one consistent sort of cap on how much you can spend. And so I think that there's a number that Florida State is willing to look at, but the ACC can't do that, in my opinion, because if you let one out, you're going to lose all of the premier names. And so we'll see how that shakes out. But again, it's like bit by bit, right? These are all body blows. How much can the ACC really take? What is the value of the West Coast schools and SMU that they added? Obviously, that didn't make Clemson and Florida State and North Carolina happy.
No.
And so is that going to be enough to give them a good TV contract next time around? Because this current one, they locked in with ESPN. It hasn't been fruitful for them. Despite the fact that they're featured on ESPN a bunch, the SEC is obviously talked about more, and even the Big Ten has talked about more on ESPN. So it's not – they're just in a bad spot, which, obviously concerning for me, because I hope that Duke's athletic programs will continue to be great well into the 21st century. But, it's definitely something that we're going to have to continue to track. I am hopeful that they'll be able to figure out something that keeps these this group together. I grew up with the ACC, and I would like to see it continue to succeed.
Tarun Sharma, Conduct Detrimental, the podcast, at TK Sharma Law on Twitter, University of Minnesota, NIL, and Sports Law Clinic. I thank you very much. We'll talk again. We got much more to talk about. Dartmouth versus Dartmouth, more on Clemson and Florida State versus the ACC. But you and I agree, if the ACC settles the Florida State case, then basically it's over, unless Florida State is willing to pay like $600 million to leave, in which case that's somewhat prohibitive for most non-Saudi schools. All right, Tarun, I'm sorry I did that. Appreciate your time, man. I'll talk soon.
All right. Thank you, Adam.
I always wonder if I put these people in it, like when I throw in like
Yeah, little sidebar things.
non-Saudi schools. Do I put that person in a tough spot? Like, I should probably consider, you know what, they're going to think that I said it, something like that.
You can usually tell if there's like an awkward.
Yeah, but I think he enjoyed it.
Yeah.
So,
right.
Yeah. Two things about that. One is I suggested to Jim Phillips 2 years ago that the ACC try and have their football season underwritten by the Public Investment Fund. They're going to be everywhere.
Yeah.
I'm not even joking here. It's funny for those people who follow professional golf. Rory McIlroy, he is not pro PIF. He's certainly not pro Live Tour. But at this point, he is positive, and he's right, that the Public Investment Fund will be part of PGA Tour golf. So how best, and he said this about a year ago, how best to utilize the money, how best to control all of that money for what the PGA Tour stands for. So he's already like into what's next when the money comes in. And there are a lot of players who don't want it. And I'm not arguing that. But it's coming. No way to avoid it. It's going to be in every sport. And I'll say within 5 years, you'll see, we'll call it private equity. You'll see that all over major U.S. sports, and not in just minority stakes. There will be ownership, flat ownership, or like majority ownership from whether it's the Public Investment Fund or Qatar, which owns PSG and the French League. It's going to be all over the place. There's too much money, and money drives everything. So how would you tell let's say the Yankees are up for sale?
Right.
So somebody wants to buy the Yankees for $7 billion. But the Public Investment Fund is offering $14 billion. Mm-hmm. How do you tell the Steinbrenner, I'm sorry, you can't sell that.
Right.
You can't sell it to them for $14 billion. I mean, I guess you could. I'm not sure you will.
Yeah.
I'm not sure you will.
No.
Everybody is looking for the most money they can possibly get. All right, quick break, and then we'll come back. It is the 50th anniversary. For like people know, I am very pro youth soccer. I am also pro professional soccer.
Just soccer in general.
Yes, but very pro youth soccer. It is the 50th anniversary of the formation of what is now NCFC Youth. We'll celebrate that next.
Going beyond the box scores. Adam Gold on the North Carolina Sports Network.
ACT Construction Equipment is proud to be your certified local Takeuchi dealer in Charlotte, Winston-Salem, Asheville, Wilmington, and Myrtle Beach. Takeuchi has long been a world leader in the compact construction industry. Let ACT Construction Equipment help you find the right machine for the job. Our full line of excavators, track loaders, and attachments are designed for low maintenance and high productivity. Stop in today for a demo or visit us online at actce.com. ACT Construction Equipment, your authorized Takeuchi dealer.
Hey, Joe. You come here often?
Yeah, just waiting for my pills. High blood pressure and cholesterol.
Oh, that'll cost you.
I can afford it. I have NC Medicaid.
They cover prescriptions?
Yep. Doctor's visits, screenings, emergency care at low or no cost.
I tried to get it before, but I made too much.
Try again. You can earn more and still get NC Medicaid. Just go to the website.
I'm going to do that.
NC Medicaid is for more people. See if you qualify at medicaid.nc.gov.
This year, more than 600,000 people are eligible for coverage under the new Medicaid expansion program passed by the North Carolina State Legislature. This means that more people than ever before qualify for services. Brian Floyd is the Chief Operating Officer of ECU Health and discusses these issues on this month's Conversations on Healthcare podcast with the North Carolina Healthcare Association.
Rural communities are affected even more because people who don't have insurance will seek out care in the emergency department. We really want people to get Medicaid expansion, get to see a primary care doctor, and avoid the use of an emergency department that consumes those resources that might really be needed for true emergencies.
You can listen to the rest of this discussion on Conversations on the State of Healthcare podcast with the North Carolina Healthcare Association, wherever you find your favorite podcasts. Learn more about Medicaid expansion and other important healthcare issues at nchealthcare.org. That's nchealthcare.org.
During this sports season, the Governor's Highway Safety Program would like to remind you to buckle your seatbelt when traveling to and from athletic events. Whether you are driving out of or across town, wearing a seatbelt is your best defense against injury or death in a crash. Start the season off right. Prioritize your safety and buckle up. Every seat, every time. Remember, click it or ticket. It's the law. This message is brought to you by the North Carolina High School Athletic Association and the Governor's Highway Safety Program.
Think earning a degree is out of reach? Well, if you're a North Carolinian from a household making $80,000 or less, it's time to think again. Because the new Next NC Scholarship could cover all of your tuition and fees at any of the 58 NC community colleges. Or at least half, if not all of your tuition and fees at one of the 16 public universities across the state. The best part? It doesn't have to be repaid. See if the Next NC Scholarship could be the opportunity for you and how simple it is to apply at nextncscholarship.org.
From the mountains to the coast, there is tremendous pride in North Carolina agriculture. NC Forever Farms is a program recognizing family farms that are protecting precious working lands vital to the future of agriculture. Through permanent agricultural conservation easements, these NC Forever Farms will always be protected from development. Learn more about preserving family farms through the Farmland Preservation Division of the North Carolina Department of Agriculture and Consumer Services by visiting ncadfp.org.
If you pay your city or town for electricity, you live in a public power community. Public power communities provide electricity to families and businesses from a locally owned and operated system. Public power systems are not-for-profit and provide electricity at affordable rates with unbeaten reliability. Your local public power provider invests in your community, providing local jobs and supporting your local economy. Electricities of North Carolina is the energy behind public power. Learn more at electricities.com.
This is Adam Gold.
If the kids want to get on the floor, they're going to get on the floor.
They'll find a way.
There are too many ways to get on the floor.
Yeah, and they've been drinking liquid courage all day.
And that is very possible, but only the ones that are old enough.
Only the older ones, yes.
So, the Adam Gold Show.
Catherine Eberhard is the Chief Marketing and Development Officer at NCFC Youth. And let me be, I'm sure I'm not the first, but I'll pretend. Let me be the first to wish you a happy 50th anniversary. How are you today?
Thank you. I'm doing well. Yeah, we are celebrating our 50th year of being in the Triangle area in 2024.
1974, Castle was born. My guess is, and I know for a fact that you were not there when, unless, I mean, I don't know, maybe you had, maybe you were playing. I don't think so. But it started, I'm sure, as just like Little League soccer, like me as a kid going down to the field with a bat over my shoulder, going to play Little League. What has it grown into?
That's right. Yeah. You know, we come from humble beginnings in 1974 when a couple parents and passionate soccer people wanted to provide just a place to play. You know, they were bouncing from field to field, scrounging up what they could, you know, fields that had rocks and sewers all over them from the stories I've heard. And, you know, fast forward 50 years, you know, what started as, you know, just a recreational league has now grown into more than 17,000 youth players playing across every level and ability of play. So it's just something we're really proud of and obviously give a lot of credit to those who came before.
Yeah, and there's still like old people like me out playing.
That's right. Yeah, you know, it's cradle to grave. We like to think in the soccer world. You know, we start at age 2.5, and We were actually the founders of the Triangle Adult Soccer League, which is in the area, and that eventually spun off. And so for as long as people want to play, soccer is here and available, and we continue to see the sport grow from all different ages.
How has it gotten, let's just be a little bit more recent, because obviously there was a changeover from Castle to NCFC. How has the growth been just in the last, let's say, 10 years?
Yeah, so you spoke right to it. So in 2017, Castle went through a rebrand with an opportunity that became available with Triangle Football Club Alliance, which is another youth soccer club in the area, and the North Carolina Football Club, which is now home to North Carolina FC and the NC Courage men's and women's professional teams. And in the past 10 years, so 10 years ago, we were just shy of around 10,000 youth players. And here we are a decade later, almost doubling that. We're about to hit 17,000 unique players, a record number this year. We're continuing to see the growth happening, especially at the grassroots level, and then those matriculations happening into the more competitive leagues. And, for us, bringing all these kind of the trifecta in collaboration among youth clubs and professional has created more connection to the game, more connection to professional players, more access through leverage and field opportunities, and obviously bringing expertise from coaching and resources and many, many years of combined expertise from everybody in the room.
Catherine Eberhardt from NCFC is joining us here on the Adam Gold Show. What's the breakdown, boy to girl?
So we've got about 60% boys and 40% girls participating this year.
It's just amazing to me to see, because my son came up through NCFC.
Yep.
From rec league to challenge. We were a pretty fair challenge team. We'll get to that in a minute. Into the classic. It's amazing to me to see, and I don't know if the plan is to have it be more girls than boys after a time. The growth in the women's game has been remarkable. Can you speak to that?
Yeah, absolutely. And, I've been thinking about that. So I grew up actually playing in Castle. So I wasn't there in 1974, but I did start playing probably in the 90s and played from age 7 or 8 all the way up through 18, 19, went on to play it in college and had those opportunities. And when I finished in college, there was no professional place for anyone to go other than some international opportunities. And so from the women's game, it's kind of like you remember where you were. I do remember where I was at the 99 Women's World Cup. The whole Brandon Chastain moment, icon moment, made household names for Mia Hamm, Chastain, Michelle Akers, Brianna Scurry, and those are things that are memorable for me. The new generation may not know those yet, but they're getting their own moments now. And so I think to see that happen and to see what happened with the Kansas City Current this past weekend, the first, that NWSL stadium that opened up for them. And here's a fun fact, Adam. I don't know if you know this. Do you know that wasn't the first women's stadium built for professional soccer?
That wasn't the first, but they claimed it is.
I know. So, and it was interesting. I was doing some digging because of our own history. And what's now Wake Med Soccer Park was Staff Soccer Park. And in 2002, we helped open that, build it, construct it, and it was built in partnership with the Carolina Courage at the time, which was in a different women's professional league. So that is a good claim to fame for us, is that we were one of the actual first to build that.
Well, here's another fun fact, Catherine. I was a groupie for the North Carolina Courage. Yeah, absolutely.
Yes. Yeah, awesome. Yeah, so bringing it back, obviously, the growth of the girls' game. I'm out there right now with my daughter's kindergarten team, so I'm volunteer coaching with them. I look around, I see these young girls having the opportunities to play in the environment that's best for them and just getting the benefits of participation. And then obviously we have seen sort of the equitable opportunities that have come to girls, where there used to not be high school teams, there used to not be, competitive leagues for girls outside of, in-club soccer. And all of that has now changed. And so even at NCFC Youth, we have the highest levels of play for boys and girls in their respective divisions. And we have that Youth to Pro pipeline to the North Carolina FC men's team and to the NC Courage women's team. So it's great to have visual of that and for the role model aspect. And if you can see her, you can be her.
Yeah.
And then for those few that do want to, really get after the competitive space and go to that next level, we have that.
And you still have angry, whining parents to deal with. Isn't that that's beautiful?
You know what? It was interesting. I was reading a letter written in 1985 from a former board president. And, the problems in youth sports have not changed.
Right.
And parents, not that they're problems, they are passionate for their kids and for their participation. And for their team. So, not calling them problem, we'll call them passionate
I'm with you.
stakeholders in the game.
I'm with you. And as somebody who did coach at the challenge level, you have to deal with all of the parents, and you have to keep everybody, as best you can, keep everybody happy. But we start with the kids always.
Exactly.
Catherine Eberhardt from NCFC is joining us. So what do you have planned for the 50th anniversary?
Yeah, thank you for asking. We're doing a lot of reflection, and then as we look forward, a lot of it is about telling those stories of where we've been and where we're going, and then also really first and foremost is telling the story of financial aid and how we are making sure that the game is accessible and the opportunities are there for every player in our community. So we've actually got a golf tournament in April that's kind of 50th anniversary branded. We're going to have a big fall fundraiser in October at the Angus Barn Pavilions to kind of help tell those stories and make sure that the game is accessible. And then obviously throughout and in between, on the pitch and off the pitch, just really reflecting on our brand, who we are, where we've been, and those that are continuing to benefit from the game.
There's also going to be, you're like a 50th anniversary team?
Yes, that's exactly right. Yeah, so we actually just announced kind of these plans to unroll a commemorative all-star team, which is made up of players, coaches, community supporters, and teams throughout our 50 years that have had a significant impact on the game. And so these are from some of the earliest contributors. I think of, Capital Broadcasting Company and Jim Goodman, who helped us build WRL Soccer Park, which is now sets us apart and is a differentiator for us in the club. The 77 Castle Spartans, who won the first national championship in 1995. Those girls kind of put us on the national map with local legend Izzy Hernandez as a coach.
Oh,
and
wow.
So for us, it's about pulling those stories out. So we've named a starting 11, and we are asking the local community who has connections to Castle, TFCA, and NCFC youth to help us kind of nominate who those next 39 spots are going to go to.
Oh, that's awesome. As we say goodbye, give me a website that people can go to find out more about it, contribute in some way, shape, or form.
Yeah, they can go to ncfcyouth.com.
That's very simple. ncfcyouth.com. Catherine Eberhardt, Chief Marketing and Development Officer at NCFC Youth. Thank you very much. Happy anniversary, even though you were not there at the beginning. And
hey, it's okay. We all share in this anniversary celebration. You too, as well, as a former challenge coach and parent.
Thank you very much. I appreciate your time.
All right, take care. Thanks for having me.
All right, we got about 5 minutes left. Duquesne and BYU are playing a game.
Yeah.
Dukes have the ball, 3-point lead, 44.6 seconds to go.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Duquesne had about an 8-point lead with about 7 minutes to play, and BYU has kind of chipped away and they tied it. But Duquesne has not gone away. It's been a fun, physical game to watch. And the Dukes, if they can get another, and they just made a layup, and there's 27 seconds left, they have a 5-point lead. So don't allow threes and don't foul.
Yeah.
And they should be okay.
Yeah. And Michigan State, they ended up coming out with a win.
Oh, yeah, they ran away from Mississippi State. Oh, so of course, by the way, Duquesne just fouled.
Oh, well, there you go.
Yeah, because why
not?
Why wouldn't you foul with a 5-point lead?
We have to make 30 seconds into 30 minutes.
No, but you have the 5-point lead. Why are you foul?
I know. It's just written in the basketball
This is why
rules.
coaches have no hair. Not gray hair.
Well,
No hair.
Makes sense.
Because that happens.
John Shire has a lot to look forward to then.
John Shire's got to get his team playing right. Chris Carrawell thinks they will. He told us earlier this week he thinks they will play well. And if they play well, they have a lot of talent. And I've said this before, they're matchup dependent. But when you have as much talent as they've got, you can go far.
Yeah.
Which is why I have them going to the national championship game and losing to North Carolina for the third time this year. I don't know how you come back from that one. Remember, they closed out Kay's career with 2 losses.
Yeah.
One in the ultimate senior night, then in the Final Four.
Right.
Now, if you get him in the championship game, now, as somebody pointed out, Carolina's going to lose in the Sweet 16. I have no idea if they are or not. I think Carolina is absolutely a national championship contender. I don't really think that about Duke. Like when I put
Not
them
as
in the Final
confident.
Four, I went, "What? Real? Did I just do that?"
Yeah.
And I just figured while I'm there, might as well just shoot the moon.
Yeah. Yeah, go for it.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. I posted my bracket on Twitter. It's sure to be a complete disaster by the end of business today.
Well, it's okay.
By the end, like
At
today,
least you tried.
it'll be really bad. Creighton's pulling away from Akron. They lead by 14 now. Arizona's had a hard time with Long Beach State, but they have a 6-point lead at the half. Like, the real hope is UNC and Arizona meet in the Elite Eight, because that would be Caleb Love going up against UNC.
Spicy.
That would be pretty spicy. He was the last Pac-12 player of the year.
Yeah.
The last one.
That's it.
Because that conference is done.
Over.
And, like, this is not really an update, but we talked a little bit with Taran Sharma about Clemson, and I've talked about it with Chip, and we talked about it the previous day. I don't know what the end game is with the other schools, but it's hard for me to believe because ESPN has a look in on the television contract with the ACC. It's hard for me to believe that if Florida State and Clemson leave, that ESPN is going to feel like the ACC gives them the same football value. So I just have a hard time believing that ESPN isn't going to at least want to rework that deal.
Yeah.
And if that happens, then I just think that North Carolina, Miami, if Miami hasn't already tried to fight their way out, that those schools are going to go out the door too. I worry that the Atlantic Coast Conference is going to become it'll always be there because there's enough schools that are going to want to play under that umbrella. But it's not going to resemble anything of what it used to resemble.
No.
Like the biggest problem was that it created a situation that could not exist long term. It could not exist with schools playing football and schools not playing football. There was just no way it was going to exist. So, anyway, we got to get out of here. Carolina's actually on the floor right now. They have an early 8-6 lead over Wagner. There you go. Victoria,
boy.
Thank you very much. Canes and Flyers tonight. Maybe I'll see you there, but I'll be there. Thanks, everybody. See you tomorrow.
Going beyond the box scores. Adam Gold on the North Carolina Sports Network.
Bring on the madness.
O'Connell with 1 second, left wing three on the way, banks it in! He got it! I don't believe it!
From the first round to the final buzzer, we'll bring you every winning moment.
Horn's got it, he'll dribble out the clock, and the Pac's gonna win! NC State goes to the ACC title game for the first time since 2007.
College basketball tournament action on 99.9 The Fan is powered by Carolina Ale House, Fairway Green, and Bailey's Fine Jewelry.
Imagine waking up this time next week and being 100% debt-free. No credit cards, no car loan, no personal loan. Hey, it's Dennis Cox. Loan Pronto's Equity Express line of credit can make it happen. Homeowners are turning their home equity into cash almost